From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Saturday News Blast for April 26, 2025. LGBTQ Nation is reporting that Attorney General Pam Bondi has a long history of opposing LGBTQ plus rights, issued a memo to the Department of Justice telling employees to investigate and prosecute cases of minors accessing gender-affirming care as female genital mutilation. The Department of Justice will not sit idly by while doctors motivated by ideology, profits, or both exploit and mutilate our children, the memo states. Under my watch, the department will act decisively to protect our children and hold accountable those who mutilate them under the guise of care. I am putting medical practitioners, hospitals, and clinics on notice. In the United States, it is a felony to perform, attempt to perform, or conspire to perform female genital mutilation on any person under the age of 18. That crime carries a maximum prison sentence of 10 years per count. I am directing all U.S. attorneys to investigate all suspected cases of female genital mutilation under the banner of so-called gender-affirming care or otherwise, and to prosecute all female genital mutilation offenses to the fullest extent possible. It's unclear what that part of the memo will do since gender-affirming genital surgery isn't performed on minors in the United States. Under federal law, female genital mutilation is defined as partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or other injuries to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. The only case of gender-affirming care cited in the memo involved a mastectomy. The memo goes on to say that the DOJ will go after on or off-label use of puberty blockers, sex hormones, or any other drug used to facilitate a child's so-called gender transition as a violation of consumer protection laws. Bondi directed the Civil Division's fraud section to investigate the use of puberty blockers as a violation of the False Claims Act and accused hospitals of performing gender-affirming genital surgery on minors while billing Medicaid for an entirely different procedure. The memo tells the department to ignore the medical recommendations of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, or WPATH, the medical organization that sets standards of care for the treatment of gender dysphoria, saying that the group muzzled dissenting members, a common accusation against scientific organizations that produce recommendations that the right doesn't like. The memo does not discuss circumcision or genital surgeries, often performed on intersex children in order to make their bodies conform to stereotypes of what male or female genitalia should look like. Gender-affirming care is supported by all major medical associations in the United States, including the American Medical Association, the Endocrine Society, and the American Academy of Pediatrics as safe and life-saving for young people with gender dysphoria. Willamette University of Constitutional Law professor Robin Merrill said that Bondi's memo doesn't create any new laws and the parts about fraud are already part of how the Department of Justice handles the law. The bulk of this is just showing how they're going to use resources and investigate, she told NBC News. That's not a law change. It's meant to have a chilling effect on physicians providing access to necessary care, fearing that it will be characterized as chemical and surgical mutilation of children. The memo comes after the president signed an executive order in January to ban gender-affirming care, even though the president doesn't have the authority to do so. The executive order told federal departments to look for ways to fight against gender-affirming care, even though Congress has not banned the practice, despite bills to ban it being introduced several times over the past few years. Several courts have already blocked the executive order from going into effect. Also this week, Bondi convened the first meeting of the administration's anti-Christian bias task force. She started the meeting by saying that President Joe Biden, a devout Catholic, had abused and targeted Christians, citing a 2023 FBI memo about threats posed by anti-choice protesters. That's our news blast. Remember, folks, if you are watching our news videos on YouTube or other social media outlets, please subscribe to the PEP Radio channel. Up next, the National Weather Service forecast for the Meadville area here on PEP Radio.